I studied psychology in university, and my last year in college, I took a documentary film course, and that changed my career path from there on. So I moved to New York City after graduating and started working at various production companies. And then I first made my short film, The Birdman, in 2012, and fell in love with that process, and then wanted to try to make a feature after that. So the two films I've made, their nicknames of the main characters happen to be superhero names, and then for lack of a more creative title, I've just stuck with the title of the film as the name of the nickname of my character. I wanted to make a feature film, and I was doing some research and came across an article about the main character, Naomi. And at that point, she had already broken the world record in her weight class for powerlifting twice, when she was 10 years old, lifting almost 3 times her body weight, beating adult women, who were 3 and 4 times her age. And so it was really interesting to me that a young girl was participating in this male-dominated sport of powerlifting, but also that she was from a traditional Orthodox Jewish background. I thought that was really unique and wanted to learn more about how she was able to balance these very different aspects of her life and her religion and the sport. I live in New York, they live in New Jersey. It was maybe about 45 minutes driving, and so about once a month or so we'd go out and film with the family. During this time we filmed with Naomi from the time she was 11 years old till 14, and it's a very transformative time, especially for a young girl. And so we literally saw her grow up on camera. I mean, you see it in the film. She changes both physically and intellectually and emotionally, and you see it in the film. So it was really cool to kind of be able to watch that under a microscope through the lens of making the film. Yeah, I like to think that having a background in psychology and social sciences gives me insight into telling these human stories, because for me, while it's really interesting and cool that she's a power lifter, or like she's from this subculture of Judaism, for me it's all about the universal human experience, and I look at it through that lens. I mean, I think as a first-time filmmaker, it's hard to get started, especially with financing a film, with fundraising. That was definitely a big challenge. You don't really have and then also just, capturing a story as it's unfolding in real life. Life happens and it's not predictable. So I think being able to adapt the story where you think it's going one way and then, something totally different happens, and you have to sort of be flexible and adapt. That was definitely a challenge. I love watching fiction films. I love narrative films. Personally, I'm not interested in going in that direction. I know a lot of filmmakers do both documentary and narrative, but for me, I'm mostly interested, or completely interested, in just telling true documentary stories. For me, the editing process is the most exciting part of the filmmaking process for me, because that is really where the writing of the story happens for a documentary like this. And I think having the mindset of an editor really helps when you're shooting out in the field and as a director, because you kind of know, okay, when you're piecing a scene together, you know which shots you're going to need in the cutting room. You're not going to know until you try, and just go for it. You don't need to have everything figured out and the perfect story and the big producer attached or all the finances lined up. If you can't do those things, just do it on your own, and everything else will fall in place.